Welcome back to Mob Genius TV. In today's episode, we pick back up with part 2 of the interview with Boxcar Bobby the Hobo, who hops trains all over the United States and fights for social justice. After our first interview, Bobby was arrested 3 times in 1 week, so we had to bring him back, and there only seemed one logical place for this interview. We went down to the Houston's 3rd Ward, the home of George Floyd, and where several amazing tributes have been created.
So, all right, we're back here with the world famous Boxcar Bobby. Since we last talked with you, you mentioned that political activism is a big part of your life. I don't think that we could have ever foresaw since the last time we spoke that basically the killing of George Floyd and the protest associated with George Floyd. I mean, when you and I met at the Ahmaud Arbery thing, and it's like you told me the other day, it's like that seems like it was years ago almost.
Yeah,
since,
for real, right?
Since
but
all this,
it's all been connected though, right?
Yeah.
That's where this started, and it's just like this energy has sort of grown, man. And then when George Floyd was murdered in Minneapolis, like Houston, I've been an activist in Houston for many years, right? And Houston has a very locked-in group of activists, and those activists are very good. They're very dedicated, but there's never like a connection with the streets, and this has been different than anything I've ever seen, whether it was Standing Rock, whether it was Philly in 2016, anywhere, right? Like, because it's the streets are involved, right? People are bringing their cousins, their brothers, like look at this, like this is 3rd Ward right here, and like everyone is turning out, right? It's not just white activists, it's not just this, it's everyone coming together as a unit, and it's all wrapped up in this other stuff. But unfortunately, like, there have been arrests, man. Like, I've been arrested 3 times in the last week, and I don't know, man, they're just sort of like, it's a weird energy here at the moment, and some of the cops that I've talked to are kind of like on one level on board with us. It's just different, right? I made it a point of my activism to talk to every single cop from the moment I went into handcuffs until I got out, right? I've been 3 times, so I've got a big sample set of data to go from, and it seems like everyone realizes it's different and are approaching their move in it differently than they would have previously, which that's success as far as I'm concerned. There are consequences though, right? Like, I don't know what's going to happen with me at this point, but I have a Fed case, I have 2 state charges.
Let's back up a little bit.
Okay.
So the first thing that happened after you and I last met, I think it was basically like 2 or 3 days later, I see some news stories of a guy in overalls and an orange shirt smacking up a Houston police car, and I said, I might know this guy. And let's start with that and kind of just tell us what was on your mind. I mean, do you believe that we're at a point where we can't peacefully protest and make our voices heard? Do you feel, destroying, a police car was necessary?
Oh, well, man, I was there, and like the energy in that, it was interesting to see the Fed's angle, right? When they were questioning me, they acted like that was one single person that organized this event, and that it wasn't something that happened organically, and there was someone that had to be held accountable. But I was there, man. Like, this group of kids was moved by 2 skateboarders, right? That came together with another group of bicyclists, and this group just like organically marched itself over, and the energy just erupted. That wasn't one group of people. That wasn't a white anarchist or a Black Lives Matter activist. That was Houston standing up.
Do you own a skateboard?
What?
Do you own a skateboard?
I don't own a skateboard. I've never been on a skateboard. I ride bikes. I don't know.
What did you think whenever you saw the police chief saying that, like, basically all the violence in this town was started by white kids with skateboards?
Oh man, Art Acevedo. I know Art Acevedo. I worked to help get Art Acevedo. Man, like, that man is really good at showing up, kissing a baby, and then saying the right thing, and then his office doing the exact opposite. He has a long track record of it, and the way he approached that was trying to associate the bad protesters and alienate any sort of force that would be necessary. But if you really want to get like technical, this is the first time we've tried something new. Like, we're just now getting into uncharted territory. We went on every march 10 times, right? And nothing's worked. So now we're into some new, and it's interesting because like 2 weeks ago, I would have made the case that a riot would never help this situation, right? But I as a logical person looking at data, can't say that anymore, because they're gonna rework the Minneapolis, the police department. Like, there's weird things going on right now. The autonomous zone in Seattle, like, we're in a new territory. We'll see if it works. And I'm at this point where I'm ready to start experimenting, man.
Are
like,
dollars the only thing that makes sense in this kind of in this kind of a protest?
For sure. For sure.
So after the police car incident, they came to your house, they arrested you. You caught a state charge for that, correct?
Yeah.
What did they charge you with?
The first state charge was just in taking a freeway, right? We literally decided to follow Martin Luther King because that's the example that was set for us. We locked arms, brothers and sisters, and marched into the freeway. And yeah, the first charge was there. It's for resisting arrest.
Yes, and it appears as though that somebody's being put into handcuffs and being arrested. And there is someone, it looks as though it has a fire extinguisher spraying it on this arrest that's being made over here. Not exactly sure what this person did. This is one of those splinter groups, like large groups of people that are roaming the streets of downtown.
Let's take it from the point where you said the first arrest wasn't the police car.
No, it wasn't the police car. When I got arrested for that, it was for marching onto the Gulf Freeway, and they threw everybody in jail that tried to do it. They didn't. I don't know. It was just a weird process. None of it was very ethical. Everyone that got arrested there had their hands thrown behind their back in zip ties and was left for hours in a gymnasium with no chain of custody paperwork. With and I understand. I actually don't want to the police had a weird point that they had to deal with, so I don't even want to comment on that actually. But I got out from there, and immediately after that, the next day I was just walking downtown with my girlfriend, like literally causing no problems. There is no protesters anywhere, and there are 5 undercovers that roll up, and they just basically harass me and try to. First they tried to say that guns had gotten stolen out of this cop car that got busted, right? And they tried to appeal to my good nature as an activist, and I know not to talk to police. It's a bad idea. Don't speak to nobody without a lawyer. But I just wanted to be here today and be able to say that I was worried about this city, and they were worried about retribution. So I did. I gave them information that they used to charge me, and then I got bonded out on that. The next day, we're laying in the bed asleep, and 30 FBI agents kick in my door and come in with guns drawn, and now I've got a Fed case too. I don't know why they charged me federally at that moment. I don't know.
It has anything to do with your transient lifestyle, living on the rails and stuff like that? Here today, gone tomorrow. I
think it was. I think I told some friends on social media that I was about to leave that day, and they decided that they had to stop me from leaving because at this point, having a charge in Harris County, there's important things that need to be done, and if something would have taken me away from that, and I have to go do important work somewhere else, I'm not sticking around to deal with this court system here in Harris County. But at the end of the day, the feds just locked all that down because when the federal marshals come in, they have unlimited resources anywhere. If my girl uses her card in Florida, the federal marshals will be there in an hour and they won't leave until they found her. So there's it's at a weird point now to where I'm kind of locked into this, and I'm just gonna have to sit here and let the system grind its gears over me. But that's the price of progress.
Did George Soros pay your bail?
No, man. I'm still trying to get that George Soros check, man.
Do you know George Soros?
No, man. And I've been in so many of these protests. There ain't no. If there was a way to get paid out here, I would have been getting paid.
Did the police even say the word George Soros at any point?
Oh, dude, yeah. That's a pretty constant theme actually with the protest stuff. Every time I get locked up, there's some redneck cop. Oh yeah, you got George Soros' paycheck. Man, yeah, it's infuriating on one level because I really feel like he should be paying me at this point.
Thank you so much.
So, is George Soros your baby daddy?
No, not at all. But if he does want to send me his check, he can call me whatever he wants, man. You can call me whatever you want,
all right,
George.
Link below, George. So, what else I want to ask you?
Take me one.
What about this calls get you? I mean, why this calls?
Man, specifically because this moment in time for Houston to have a legend ripped away from him like that, it affects me personally, and then it just connects all the other struggles, right? The justice reform, being in prison, all that stuff, that was all tied in with Houston, right? And it was no way to ever separate it from me. But the activism never really reached Houston. But now it's home, right? And I care about home very much, and you know that, right?
Yeah.
So now that it's about Houston, yeah, because I had been burned out, man. The activism that I had done, it put me in a weird place emotionally, and I just kind of focused on music at that point because it was what I had to do to save my sanity.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this is the thing. This is it.
Well, you bring up a good point. You say Houston is home. There's been some press articles that seem to suggest differently.
Man, you know what? I've been to jail 3 times in the last week. I've been harassed. I've been made fun of by cops. You know, the only thing that pisses me off is them folks said I was from Austin. They said I was from Austin, man.
Hey, man, you know, if you were in Austin, you'd help keep it weird, that's for sure.
Yeah,
bro.
yeah. I love Austin, but hey, it ain't Houston, huh?
Yeah, so give me a little bit about your background just to kind of solidify the fact that you are from Houston. Where did you grow up?
Yeah, man, I grew up on the north side, Moody Park, the real north side. You know, some people say the north side, they be all the way out in the woodlands. And yes, that is north of Houston, but it is not the north side. So I was, you know, I've been out there forever, and yeah, it really is home. It's a really special community. But I love all of Houston. We're in the trade right now, and like, I've been a lot of places. I've done a lot of traveling. I've seen a lot of cities, but nowhere have I ever been that has communities that are like this. And it's historic, and it's different than everywhere else, and we should help to preserve it. And I'm glad that, like, George has been memorialized in so many places all over the world, right? Like, George Floyd is a global movement, right? But it's connected right here, you know, it's Third Ward.
What do you think is different this time about, I mean, because I feel it too. I mean, I feel like it's different this time. What is different this time versus the countless other times that police have done this?
I think that we're really sort of capitalizing on just how weird 2020 is. Like, fuck 2020, it's weird, but it's got all these different layers, right? Like, we're 4 years into, like, sort of stewing the racial resentment that's been brewing in this country of, like, Trump. It's just, like, been a weird 4 years. And then you multiply that times COVID-19, then you multiply that times 14% unemployment, and, you know, it's just, like, exponentially getting this petri dish that's just, like, people are tired of it. And when you have a man murdered in cold blood that we have to watch for 9 minutes, when we're this pissed off, like, yeah, it's different. It's just different.
Let me ask a personal question.
Sure.
Do you have a right to vote?
Do I have a right to vote? I do have a right to vote, and thanks to Ray Hill for that, man. Ray Hill was an activist here in Houston, and Ray Hill was with KPFT for 30 years doing the prison show, and he fought every single time to make sure Texans could vote after they got out. And it took many times, but he finally got it, huh? He finally got it. So yes, I can vote, but I don't have an ID, and it's just probably being poor. I can't get an ID. Yeah.
If you have the right to vote, why engage in violent protest?
Because that's my part. That's what I have to do. I can't contribute any other way. And there's always been multiple angles to a social movement, and there's multiple requirements when it comes to change. And one part of change is, like, aggressively, like, creating attention. MLK said it the best in his letter from a Birmingham jail. He said the goal of any direct action is to create such a tension, and I love the language, right? Tension. You have to create a tension that the oppressive authorities can no longer ignore, right? And we've got everything up to that, but that's where we're at now, and we're causing tension. And I know the cops feel it because I've seen them down there in that jail, and they're working hard, they're sweating, they hate it, and that's the tension that you have to use to cause the change. And I can't vote, but I can do that. And my history of, like, being in prison, it's like I don't really have a whole lot else to offer besides my thoughts and my front line, and my body on the front line. So.
Took about 3 so far.
Okay. That's cool. Thank y'all so much.
That one look real good, y'all. That one look real good, y'all.
All right. Right over here a little bit. Okay. Now, do you feel like that you do a disservice to Dr. King when you reference him, and also given the fact that, I mean, how do you rationalize all that? Now, you know,
I rationalize it by, I've read it, right? I've read letters from a Birmingham jail. I've tried to approach social movements, and I've tried to approach social justice with an open mind, be willing to follow the information wherever it led me, and doing a deep dive research, right? Like, I didn't have anything else to do but read, and I just sort of became consumed by trying to learn as much as I could. And if you dig, if he digs, if she digs, like, and you dig into the actual work, that's what it is. And it's like, you come to the same conclusion, man. It's weird, but they don't really discuss those things, right? They kind of label Martin as, like, this peaceful guy, and, like, Malcolm is, like, the radical activist, and that's not really the case. Like, he got arrested 32 times for civil disobedience, right? And that was what was required at the time. It's what's required now. And anybody yeah, there's just some things that you got to look at. Look at what they say, and don't just listen to whatever the school book glossed over.
anything else that you want to add to this story?
Yeah, man, it's just like, this is it, man. This is the time. we're never going to get this set of circumstances to capitalize on again. So if we really want to demand justice, now's the time. Everyone has a part. If you can't get out there on the front lines, give somebody some money that has, right? Like, go find a way to get connected. Make a social media post, call a DA, demand charges, do something. But if everybody does something in this moment, like this momentum that we have right now, we will get justice, and this will be a thing that we can look back in 40 years on and say, like, this moment in time, we were able to change things.
What does justice look like to you?
Justice to me looks like we completely defund the police everywhere, rebuild them from the ground up. We have a system that's just. We release these people that are in prison for nonviolent crimes. We go through it, completely restructure the criminal justice system, because that's the heart of slavery, right? Them white plantation owners didn't want to sit there and, like, you think they just sat back after the Emancipation Proclamation? No, they designed this whole system to continue slavery legally. Like, it's that simple. And if we were willing to, like, address that and tear it down, which we have the momentum for, then we're gonna do it. And I just think that's the only way we can ever talk about racial equality in this country. We can only talk about, like, justice if that's the start of the conversation. If it's not, we're just putting band-aids on a bullet wound, man.
So, when you hopping back on the train again?
I can't tell you that. They listening.
Well, I just want to tell you thank you so much, and like I said, maybe we'll make this a regular, a regular appearance as long as you're here, and as long as you got a story you want to tell, man.
For sure, for sure.
Thank you for all you're doing for social justice.
Yeah, thank you, brother.